We are on the 168th edition of Signs of the Southland. We're creeping perilously close to the summer break of there being no NCAA sports, which is a good reprieve for players. Chaotic time for coaches because that is recruiting mania season. For us, though, that means we had time to bring our editor-in-chief, Ben Tankersley, onto the podcast for the first time since I've been here, and I'm nearing a year. So, it feels like this was overdone or far too long in the making. But, thanks for coming.
I mean, in my defense, I am also a very busy person.
Oh, you're fine.
And y'all typically record on Monday nights, which is when I play Dungeons and Dragons. So I feel like
You
that
are
is at least a valid
that
excuse.
is the most okay. In my while we delay, Jake's on the phone with AT&T, so we're gonna delay for a hot second here for me to say that many friends of mine at Tech could not do things on the one we all had a shared night, which was pretty universally open, and that was Wednesday nights, except for like varying group of like 8 to 10 people every semester that was like, nope, it's D&D night. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I eventually it would get fun to just sit there and watch them play because it just happened in my living room, and that's when they put the voices on and everything. So that was fun to see. But
I mean, there's a reason things like Critical Role have become what
mm-hmm.
they are.
Yeah,
And I mean, they've even gotten to the point that they have a full-on TV show. I mean, there's just a movie.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
not Critical Role, but a Dungeons and Dragons movie, which apparently is on Paramount Plus now. And I don't have Paramount Plus, but I might need to get it.
I don't have it either. I found some websites that are probably not legal to find things like this, but I will not advertise those or suggest even doing that in the first place. Um, On to the sports just before while Jake is still poor Jake. Anyways, let's go to golf because golf is what's happening right now. Also, baseball has a game against Mercer happening right now, and I don't know what's happening at the moment, but we'll cover them a little bit later. Golf is in the middle of the NCAA Regional. The regional is in Salem, South Carolina. That is a 3-round tournament. Today was the second round, and they are currently in second place. They shot in 22 under collectively as a team today. They're 32 under total throughout the tournament. And then the top 5 in the tournament make it into the actual NCAA championship, which, as we mentioned last week, is in Scottsdale at the place we always play at in Scottsdale, which I forgot the name of it. Actually, I would know the name of it, and he is not here tonight to remind me of that, sadly. So today, Christo Lamprecht shot a bogey free 10 under round, which is that's insane. That's some he's going to be on some pro circuit kind of round right there. Connor Howe shot a 7 under. The whole team collectively shot under par yesterday, but just all like in lower numbers. And today it just went out. They're 7 shots back of Arkansas, who has played flawless golf the last 2 days, and they're 7 shots ahead of UNC, who was the top seed going into this whole thing. So very nice to be in front of UNC, who did not even play to win for the ACC title that we ended up winning. So.
And
Yeah,
generally, it's just always good to be in front of UNC.
it's a good feeling to have. That's a good feeling to have. Yes, as I said, top 5 teams make it to nationals in Scottsdale. Ben, would you ever go to a college golf tournament if it was close to your house? Because I think I would.
I'm not a huge golf guy, but if it if if Georgia Tech was playing something here in Statesboro, also by the way, I live in Statesboro, um, I would consider it.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
There's not many people there, so you get to ride up on the action. They also have they get to use the wheelie carts for these tournaments. Well, they don't have to hold their bags usually. So it goes a little bit faster than normal rounds as well. So yeah, you'd probably get out of there in 2 hours and see just about everyone you want to see. So it's probably an optimal golf situation viewing.
Yeah, I keep saying whenever I know you'll get to this in a little bit. Whenever Georgia Tech baseball makes their way down here to play
Yep,
Southern,
yep.
try and go. But seems like the last couple of times it's happened, something else going on that night.
I had a friend who played for Southern. He was David Johnson. He was always the fastest guy that I've growing up when I played baseball. Always the hardest pitcher I faced. I think in my 3 at bats, I had 1 up the middle single, 1 walk, and 1 swing where I was like just kind of just praying on 2 strikes, and it went straight down the third baseline and hit the bag. And so I got on base 3 times in this guy who ended up playing D1 baseball. So
Right?
that's my biggest accomplishment in my baseball career was having a D1 guy never get me out. Um,
There you go.
he's a good dude. A different kind of diamond. Let's go to softball. Not the only news there in terms of what they played is that they won their first game in the ACC tournament against Notre Dame, and then promptly lost to, I want to say, Duke. Yes, they lost to Duke in the second round, so their season is over. Um, they will lose Emma Kauf after this year. She got her undergraduate degree, and she's going to do a grad transfer elsewhere. She's currently in the portal. Don't know where she's going to go, but perfectly understandable. All these bunch of players go out for grad transfers. Not a new thing. Probably inevitable. Emma Kauf did major in biology, and so there's a lot of great programs out there. She can do some sort of master's, more specific thing, not here. So, really good for her. And she's also part of the Academic All District Honors Squad, which includes her, Sarah Beth Allen, Grace Connolly, and Kinsey Norton. Fun fact here is that all of them are in all different majors, but 4 different colleges at Tech: business, industrial engineering, and industrial design. So a large swath. 4 of the 6 schools are represented by Tech here, or 4 of the 6 Tech schools are represented here. It is the most that Tech has had in an academic all district in the same season. So very cool stuff there. And just smart people being smart, because that's what Tech does. You get to be smart and you get to play D1 sports. So that selling point is not gotten old and will not get old. Jake is still on hold with AT&T. This is it's a bit now. It's a bit. We're doing bits.
Wow. While you're talking about all academics, I actually see this email came in a few hours ago. Looks like several baseball players got named academic all district.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
see Jake DeLeo, Angelo Spina, John Geisler, Ben King, and Jack Rubenstein.
Nice.
So got some more smart guys doing smart things.
We do. You do. I'll mention this to you. We talked about this last week, but my brother graduated last weekend too, and he was in the first ceremony, which is computer science, some engineering, industrial design. So none of the soft majors, like no hard science or anything like that, are in the second one. Um, and all of our business guys should have been in the second ceremony, but they had their Duke game that day at like 6 o'clock, and the ceremony's at like 2 or 3, and so they announced we're doing the graduation for the College of Design, or no, was it yeah, College of Computing, and then 5 straight business people go in the line, because that's all the baseball players, so that they can get them done. They like made sure they were the first ones to walk, so if they had to leave early, they could get out for warm ups.
It
That
never
was pretty
ceases
funny.
to amaze me the lengths to which universities will go to cater to athletes. So you gotta do what you gotta do.
You got to do it. I mean, yeah, they would not have. Cabrera, like at the beginning of the ceremony, he's like, you have to stay here after you walk the stage, because I have like the magic words that make it all official." And so, and if they, I don't know how true that actually is, but they would have had to leave if they actually went to their actual ceremony. But anyways, one bit on women's basketball. They got a new commit today named Tiana Thompson, who is a local girl, plays guard and wing, and she's she goes to Galloway High School here, one of the private schools in the Atlanta area. So just fun to see how we between Cameron Swartz and the girl Sydney Johnson, who both are Atlanta area related, coming in after their collegiate time. Now we get someone coming actually from Atlanta up front initially, on the front end of their career, which I think when we think about football and stuff, that's been like why aren't we getting these guys sooner from the area? So in a smaller roster, good to see this happening as well. All right, Jake. Now that you're back from AT&T, can you read the Section 103 ad?
Yeah, I'd love to, because Section 103 has great customer service, and that's really on my mind right now. I'll spare everyone the details, but I'll just say that since work, I've been to the AT&T store, UPS store. I've talked to 5 different representatives, and the last guy hung up on me. And though I've never talked to Section 103 or Steven on the phone, I know deep down that he would never do that to anyone, because he's so responsive, be that through Twitter or any other way to contact him. I cannot say enough about Section 103 being a great small business, a great Georgia Tech small business that we are proud to be associated with here at Scions of the Southland. Like I said last time, not really much news since the Juniors Grill shirt, but I do circle back on that a lot. It is quite literally at the top of my list. And that's the problem. They make so much great stuff that list is really long. Everything from stuff with just that classic interlocking GT, logos you can't get anywhere else, like the ATL logo, as well as stuff for basically all sports, all logos, all colors, and including retro stuff as well, which if anyone knows a thing or two about me, you would know that the retro stuff is near and dear to my heart. As always, you can find them at section103.com and at section103 on Twitter. Go check them out.
All right, no one's on hold with AT&T. Can we move on? Are we good? No one's on the phone.
It's not
Well,
a service thing, but it is related to Section 103. I am very upset that from the poll choices, the 8-bit helmet has been removed. I've
Oh,
already discussed this with Steven. He knows how upset I am about this. Um, and it's absolutely not his fault at all. But I just want to air that grievance that Steven should be allowed to make that 8-bit helmet design on the
is
t-shirt, and I should be allowed to buy it.
You know, I've long said that the greatest hindrance to Georgia Tech having great merch out there is Georgia Tech itself. So, yeah, if anybody can get me a buzz with the wrench on it for like the ME school, I mean,
oh yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. There's a couple that get close, but they just don't hit quite the same. And it's weird to wear a graduation medal around in public, I think. So
The Buzz collection just has to happen. We need the Buzz collection.
is this where I go get my swimming Buzz hockey
I know which
jersey
one. I know.
out
I was thinking of the exact
from
same
the
logo.
closet?
I was thinking of the same logo.
I don't know if that thing passes, licensing, but they can come
Podcast-
to my house and take it from me.
Podcasting is a visual medium, of course. All right, now that we have Jake, let's get to our main topics. On Twitter,
Hold on. Jake, are you drinking wine out of a champagne flute?
I am. It's
oh my god.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but let's just say that there are still things in boxes, and I am out of beers, so that's where we're at. And also,
I just wanted to make sure that I saw that correctly.
I was going to say, I still have not gotten my confirmation email from AT&T, so I'm not sure that any of that was for anything. So, if your boy is at the AT&T store at 7 a.m. tomorrow, you'll all know why.
Oh boy!
But anyways, what have you guys talked about? What did I miss?
We did golf, we did softball, we did women's basketball, which was one new person. That's all the new stuff that's happened so far. Golf, got around tomorrow, so that'll be fun for us to scoreboard watch because they're not broadcasting it on television anywhere.
Boo.
So sad. Anyways, well, let's do the Magnificent Seven, which for those that may have seen on Twitter, the news came out that lawyers from Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech have been talking about how to get out of the Grant of Rights deal that the ACC has that has effectively kept the ACC out of the conference realignment with how exorbitant the cost will be to leave the ACC and pay off your share of the media rights deal that's in there with ESPN. I did see another tweet today that maybe Louisville could be in that. I have no idea if that's real or not, but that's the only other name that I've seen that might also be associated with it, which makes sense, I think, in hindsight. So
it does reflect that the state university model the rest of those have going on.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess main things I think I want to ask and just converse about is it's obvious this probably isn't the best for Georgia Tech, but like, what was the first reactions y'all had to like, oh boy, so this is who's leading the charge here, not us?
Honestly, the first thing that came to mind was I'm going to forget all the co-authors, but I believe Jason Kirk, Alex Kirshner, Richard Johnson, they wrote a book called The Sinful Seven a while back, and Virginia was a part of that. It's about NCAA legislation. I promise it's more interesting than it sounds. It's fictionalized. It's weirdly parallel to that, but I think Virginia Tech was involved too, but not at all the same. But what's old is new. I think anyone who's listened to this podcast for more than one episode know that I'm a big history and traditions guy. I'm not necessarily frustrated with this as like from that kind of nostalgia or like significance lens. I'm more frustrated in that like we're not really seeming to be a part of it. Like those are people that we see, at least speaking from years of doing this with Akshay, Cade, Jack, Ethan. Like these are schools that we talk about as our peers, and it would be very unfortunate to be left out in the cold, especially if it's these schools that are the ones doing the shaking of the tree, if you will. Like that. I don't know. Maybe Clemson, Florida State, I kind of get, and I would still be frustrated. But Virginia, really? Like, I don't know. They got a lot of non-rep sports, and they're good at a lot of sports. But like, I don't know. These are peers. This is the association we've been in for a long time. So
yeah. It always felt like we were, even if our athletics at the top tier wasn't like in perfect league with them in recent history. It was still like, well, we're still in the same sentence as all these schools and everything else. So yeah, Ben, what do you think?
For me, I will say I personally was not surprised that Georgia Tech was not included in that list of seven, just because I think Georgia Tech is so far behind um, in terms of just like figuring out what exactly they need to do to actually be successful in modern college sports outside of non-revenue sports.
Yeah.
Even then, it's more hit or miss than you might think. I think we kind of caught lightning in a bottle last year, and not to disparage any of the teams, but like, you're sending a couple cross country runners, a couple track athletes, a couple women swimmers through to NCAA's.
Right, but when you're winning a couple games a year in football, I mean, sending a
but even
couple
then,
folks is pretty big.
I'm agreeing with you, Ben. I'm agreeing with you. It's not like non-rev is like the world on fire either. You got women's tennis, you got softball had a great year last year, and they kind of, the cards fell as they will this year. And volleyball's been consistent for 3 years, but it's a pretty short list. Baseball is, frustrating but fringy playoff postseason team like that. That's it. Like that, you're right. Like it's not surprising, and it sucks that it's not surprising.
It just feels like going back all the way to when this massive amount of debt started at Georgia Tech. That just seems like it has started this just gigantic snowball that's just rolling down the hill that has now spread out to everything else, and everything else is just falling behind.
Yeah.
And Georgia Tech is going to probably end up in a position where they're going to be on the fringe when this inevitable super conference happens, and they're going to have to decide, do we want to go for it and try and make some of this money back? Do we want to default on these loans and just stick with where we're comfortable? And truthfully, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I agree. I think at the end of the day, it would be most interesting if this magnificent seven, or sinful seven, or I don't know, whatever adjective seven you want to put here, they can't all move as a block. Seven is an odd number, and there's no self-respecting conference that's going to take a block of 7 teams when the SEC and the Big Ten are both already at 16. Unless they're all going to the Pac-12, which I don't really see happening either. That's the thing that it's them agitating for more money, not them leaving, right? And yeah.
I mean, remember when the Big Ten had a 10 and an 11 in their logo when Penn State joined?
Jack, I lived very close to their HQ. I know that all too well. There was a Geno's East across the street we went to before minor league hockey games, but that's a different podcast.
I'll just say that there's precedent. I mean, the Big Ten's done it, and that got them pretty. That's gotten them pretty far. I'll note that. Well, go ahead.
An odd team 23 team conference is much different than an odd team 11 team conference.
Yes,
though I will say that.
Yes, that is true. You can kind of let that slide. I think. The thing for Tech though is if they do get a hefty, if they end up, if this, let's just play this out. These 7 go, 8 maybe if Louisville ends up going with them wherever. That means Tech is going to get a significant windfall in some straight cash, basically, because they'll have been bought out of the conference, which, as Ben mentioned, we have the debt problem still. It has not gone away. The current grant of rights deal our media revenue will increase over time, so that is a primary source of income to help pay off some of this debt as well. But if we got that money, that would be a massive help in terms of just the current financial burdens that the Athletic Association is holding. That I don't think that the Georgia Institute of Technology will necessarily be wanting to send them just a ton of money to help fix. So I think there is at least you have to think about it both ways. Like, okay, we can try and fight our way through this and be with all the big players as we feel like we deserve to be. But at the same time, it's like we can solve this massive financial problem that's been hamstringing up this whole time, and figure it out from there. Whether that means it's some weird, whether it's Ben's idea that we've had in the Slack of the Coastal Conference with all the Pac-12 castaways and the ACC castaways, which I think is kind of fun. Or is there a Big 12 thing there? Is there an AAC thing? Does the Big East get reinvented? Who the hell knows?
Jack,
the Big East still exists. It's just
the football Big East.
Two things. It's both putting on the classic J-Cap. One, have you ever heard of the Airplane Conference?
No.
Look it up, or I can loan you Matt Brown's book that I have in the next room over. It's basically the premise was, what if a bunch of Pacific Coast schools got together with Navy and Syracuse and them and back in the 50s and created a, flying across the country thing. So it's been bandied about before, never, I guess, all that seriously, but it's something worth looking into for listeners or you guys. If you're interested, just give it a Google. What's old is new, time is a flat circle. And I think the place I want to go with this is, Jack, I hadn't really thought about it in terms of the financial windfall.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, and granted, it's not going to be, how you say, ideal for.
We have no idea what the figure would be, like how many millions would be coming our way. So this is hypothetical. No clue how many, if it's in the tens, hundreds, or single millions. We probably not. It's probably at least tens. But
any type of millions is good millions.
Those are millions.
Millions are good, and my point there is, if it would increase Tech's financial solvency, which it sounds like it would, the lights aren't as dark as they were in the 70s and 80s, 70s mostly, when Georgia Tech was an independent, right? And a lot of people go, oh, we were an independent and then we joined the ACC, right? Because we didn't get back into the SEC, blah, 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 all that. There's a lot of politics there. But in the meantime, what a lot of people forget is we joined the Metro Conference for a minute in there too. And the Metro didn't sponsor football per se, but basketball, baseball, the men's the men's sports, we joined the Metro swimming. And what I really see is the schools and the profile of schools that were in that conference at that time kind of line up pretty similar to like the husk of the American plus some random power schools, if that makes sense. Granted, you had your FSU and your Louisville and whatnot, but you had your Tulane, you had your Georgia Tech. I don't know. It just feels like it's not entirely unprecedented. It's just that the sports have become across the board, I'd say rather stratified, for all the, volleyball is more, there's more parity than there has ever been. Softball, there's more parity than there's ever been. Oklahoma's still 51-1, right?
Yep.
The good team, Georgia went undefeated last year. And
Texas
I know
wins everything
like
in non-revenue.
Exactly. And we don't like to talk about it, especially when it's the school out east or North Carolina or whatever. But there is an incredible amount of stratification in sports. And even though it wouldn't be that unprecedented of a place for Tech to kind of be in relative to what we've long seen as our peers, right? The Auburns, UGA, North Carolina, Duke. Granted, it seems like Duke gets shut out of this too in this scenario. So go figure. But I think the biggest difference is not just the stratification, but when you had an ACC, a Southwest Conference, a Big Ten, a Big East, an SEC, a Pac-12, that were all considered majors, plus a decent amount of independence, there was a lot more ways to get your foot in the door. To quote unquote get back to where you were, right? And I think that's probably the biggest difference, because again, this Tech left the SEC on its own accord and thought it was getting the best deal in the history of ever. And 8-10 years later, they were wandering the wilderness. And this isn't quite the wilderness, but it's also not that far off. I think if this does come to happen, and who knows, maybe it's just that they reorganize how much money each school gets based on what I saw today was like a performance-based thing too. So,
and it's not like
which will only make Georgia Tech's situation that much worse.
Because we only have like 5 sports, Yeah,
and it's not like the wilderness is exactly a hidden path either. Like of the forks of the many avenues at this fork in the road, or that the incoming fork in the road, it's very visible. There's signage out front. There's signage a couple miles away saying, "Hey, wilderness available to walk on." Like that's the path is there. Our footprints are literally on this path. It's interesting to think about. And also, I think how the college football playoff is getting reorganized does in a weird way help us there too. That in the weird case where we do end up in, I don't know, whatever,
we have the
imaginary
crazy
conference
2014 season again.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we end up in an Orange Bowl situation or whatever, and we're like, I'm not saying we're being the Sun Belt. I'm just using the Sun Belt as an example. We end up in the Sun Belt, but we win 12 games, and we're like, oh well, they're the only 12-win team out of the group of 5, so they're in. Like weird stuff like that. Like there's at least avenues in with the new format that don't exist now for us as an ACC school. Like there's just no way we're making the 4-team tournament
Right,
as
but
the current ACC format.
ultimately, I don't think that it matters. I mean, there's not the disparity that there is in, say, college basketball, even,
Right, right.
or there's not just the disparity that exists in college basketball and college football. There are the teams
Yeah.
at the top, and then there's a big gap.
Yes, yes, that is true. Yeah, so it'll just that first year of the expanded playoff will be interesting to just see like, all right, you're gonna have your one group of 5, and then the 11 other teams. How big is the drop off from the conference champs to everyone else? Is having the 10th ranked team in the country actually like? Are they just gonna get killed on the road or something like that? Who knows? Um, the home field advantage is going to be the best part. I feel bad for the top 4 teams in that scenario who aren't going to get home games, even though like Bama playing a game. But I mean, Bryant-Denny Stadium in mid-December would just be an incredible setting.
They need to do 2 rounds at home. I feel like that's such an obvious solution because then the 5 through 8 teams get it, and then the 1 through 4 teams get it, and all those fan bases get an awesome home playoff. And it's the same. And we don't have to go straight to baseball on this.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing that like I love doing old stuff just because we've done things a certain way. Loved the bowl system before the college football playoff. I am a Cubs fan, all that. If it's old and we've just done it, it's like, okay, great. But there's one thing that drives me absolutely nuts. And at first I did not agree with my buddy when he pointed this out. But we play an entire season where baseball and softball, well, softball does some tournaments, but they aren't bracketed tournaments, but baseball plays a series, a 3-game series to determine who the better team is among those 2 teams. And then once the season ends, we throw it all out the window. We do whatever wacko stuff the ACC tournament is. We don't have to go into that now. And then in the NCAA baseball format, when you could very easily go 3-game series, 3-game series, 3-game series, 3-game series, 3-game series, done. Instead, we play a wackadoo double elimination regional.
Which is how you do tournaments when you're 12 years old just to get games in.
It's just how you do tournaments when you're 12 years old just to get games in. And if we were to have each team host a series, twice as many fans would get postseason baseball. And then in the next round, twice as many fans would get postseason baseball. Mm-hmm. And then in the next round, you get 8 more teams that would get postseason baseball. And granted, 3 straight home weekends is kind of an advantage, but you're going to get it anyways if you're the higher seeded team because you're going to be playing at your own facility, right? But it's just going to happen. But instead, you get 32 teams that get to see postseason and get involved, and it's part of the environment that I think brings a lot of people to sports. It worked for me for volleyball. I didn't like volleyball before college, and like now I won't shut up about it. Like I didn't follow college. I went to Omaha once as a kid. But I didn't follow college baseball until college, and I liked it the first couple of years I was in school. But what did it for me where I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome? It was Tech host, and we don't have to talk about how much of a heartbreaker this was, but it was Tech hosting a game and being like it was a fun year, phenomenal environment at Truist for the UGA game. That was one step. And then you see an electric postseason tournament. And I think you get so many more opportunities to do that. And you get interesting non-con matchups or 2 really great conference teams if you're in, the super regional or whatever replaces the super regional. And in Omaha, sure, you still send the top 8 to Omaha, but like do you're playing 3-game series for the super regional and for the championship series anyways. That's not football, but my point is the thing that makes college sports special is the environment, the connection. It's not playing in Jerry World just because you have to. And it's the same reason why like Mercedes-Benz is cool, but like I'd rather have an extra game at Bobby Dodd. If it's not like if it's not a marquee game, like you could turn the Chick-fil-A, and this is me talking for 5 straight minutes. I'm making up for lost time, I guess. But like you could turn that Mercedes-Benz mayhem game into just rotate through some sort of SEC notable historic good team, whatever. Bama, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Tulane, Cal. I don't care.
We don't need Bama. Just let us play Auburn.
Yeah, exactly. But
we don't need that
Auburn.
Hey, do you know who we played in 2030 and 2031?
Did we play Cal in
Bama for real this
2030?
time?
We played Bama in 2030 and
Oh,
2031
yeah.
on a
I
home
mean,
and
we were
home.
supposed to play Bama, I think, like next year too, several years
Yep.
ago.
They pushed it
They keep
out.
pushing Tech back
Good for us.
because I
Good
think
for us.
initially those games were
They were going
supposed
to
to
play against
happen.
Paul.
Right. I think that it was supposed to happen
Oh.
during while Paul Johnson was coaching. They were just like, we're gonna push these back.
Saban didn't want to have to do that. He didn't want to deal with that. Saban's a wuss. Anyways.
I mean, hey, after that Georgia Southern game, I don't blame him.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. So this is all interesting. This is all preliminary reporting for the most part about the Magnificent Seven. We'll see where this lands. If it lands, like this is still totally just lawyers having discussions so you can figure out what the legality is. And once the legality is figured out, though, that will reveal a lot. That will reveal a lot of those avenues of like what really is possible here, and where teams lie and whatnot. Who knows? Tech may end up getting in cahoots with these people eventually. Who the hell knows? The tweet that I saw said they've been talking for months. So I don't know if that means since February. So you have 3 months or like September length of months. So
Jay Bat's not a dingus either. He's
not.
He's gonna do what it takes. Like I have that level of faith that he's not gonna stand idly by. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen and interacted from Angel is him committed to this and making things happen. And I don't know. I think the idealized format, if you will, is honestly maybe just 2 super conferences where you have a couple protected matchups each year, and maybe that gets like Tennessee or Auburn or Vandy or Tulane or just something like, I don't know. I like playing Virginia, but it doesn't do it for me. If it's going to be a giant Southeastern mega conference a la the SoCon of the 1920s, again, time is a flat circle. But this is unique signs of the Southland Insight, by the way. But if it's going to go to 2 super conferences, might as well be something where we can get something interesting and regional and fun. Because I think people see a lot of dollar signs, but I mean, if you make it a Big Tent, you can make it pretty fun too. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways it can go still. So, while we're talking about football, our 100 Days to Football series is going to begin in next week. Ben's going to intro it. I think I might be first when we do opinions, and I got to figure out what my opinion will be. I'm currently thinking about doing the 10 best Georgia Tech end zone designs. I gotta find 8 of them though, so we'll see how that goes.
I was gonna say, are there even 10 to write?
There might not be 10. I might have to make my own at this point. We'll see.
I'll just collab with Jake and just take it back a few years.
I'll find something. I'll find something. So we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, it starts May 24th.
May 24th. All right, we'll have an article a day in theory every weekday.
Yeah, it's always an article a day in theory.
In theory, it's hey, we'll make it up with the mailbag if we miss one, or me writing about Survivor, or I'll probably write about golf actually pretty soon because they're in a good spot. So, anyways, here we go. Baseball. So we played Duke this weekend, this past weekend, the number 10 team in the nation, and they won 2 out of 3, which I don't think we saw coming at all. And Jake, I don't know if you updated.
It was close to a sweep too.
Yeah, it was.
It was real close to a sweep.
It was. It really was. Oh man. Sorry, I'm watching the NBA lottery, and the Spurs just won the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
The Spurs. Greg Popovich is about to be a head coach for 20 more years, baby.
Oh my gosh, that is.
Anyways, sorry.
Of course they did.
Sorry,
of course they did.
Oh, that's just a cool moment. Oh, that's such a man.
Give me like 2 minutes, and I'll have what it does for our postseason prognostications ready to go. It's currently loading, and we're at like 60 sheets that it reads in now. So
I already loaded it. I did this already.
No, I haven't loaded in the new.
Never mind. Okay,
the new sheets.
Last week,
your boy was on the phone with AT&T, Jack. I don't know if you remember.
AT&T's back. God damn it. Last week, Jake's friendly USI ranking had us at 46, so we'll have that as the benchmark for right now. But yeah, 1, 2 out of 3. That's just, I don't have much on the interior stats, but that's big because I mean we, at least in our Slack, we were talking about, do we need to talk about Danny this being it, because we had not seen a series win against a good team at all this year that was like gave us some hope of real postseason depth. So this weekend was good. We have to back it up against UVA this weekend, though. We just absolutely have to back it up, or else, Jake,
Jack,
you are.
I was gonna say, what did I say? We can't have this conversation yet, but we can after the regular season. And what did they
Yes.
do? They went and did a good thing.
They did a good thing. They did, yeah. So I think we have to postpone the. Is it time for Danny to maybe not be here for at least another week?
Do we have to though?
Do we have to? I don't know. I mean,
how many times did people try to have that conversation about Jeff Collins?
not enough times, I would say.
But there were always those people that one tiny little good thing would happen, and the Georgia Tech Twitter army would be like, "See, progress.
I know.
It's not there. You're not looking."
It's not there, you're not. Oh my goodness. Sorry, Ben.
Boy.
You've been dishonorably discharged from the Twitter army. Hasta la vista, baby.
It's okay. That happened a long time ago.
So, no, so we qualified for the ACC tournament at this point, so we're in that sense. I haven't checked the seeding. We can't finish worse than 12th per what Ken Segura tweeted earlier today. A few teams had eliminated themselves already, including Louisville, who was number one in the conference for a hot second there, and then immediately was not. So,
well, and remember, what do we talk about the tiebreakers? The tiebreaker goes to the higher seed if everyone finishes 1-1. And spoiler alert, we're not going to be the higher seed. So Georgia Tech needs to set themselves up with, I would say, if they want to be, cruising, a series win next weekend would be a big
series win would be
right?
incredible.
So, Virginia's a good team, and it matters to win a weekend. They're currently leading the Coastal. They're 16-11. Miami 16-11. Georgia Tech getting themselves to 14-16, and it feels dirty to let in teams with losing conference records to the postseason. But 14 ACC wins in what is, a very good conference this year. It means something at the very least. Also, I'm sort of doing this to stall just a little bit because the app is still loading. But my point there being, if Georgia Tech finishes 14-16, eminently doable, and they go 2-0 in pool play, they're looking at 16-16, and the very worst that they can finish is 16-17 if they lose that next game, right? And a 16 ACC wins is going to set you up, I'd say, pretty well for the postseason. Yeah. I've seen Tech in other places on some bubbles. It's more a matter of where they get sent as a 3 seed. Mm-hmm. I have actually seen us and Auburn getting sent to the same regional in a spot or two, which would love that for my traumatic sports memories.
Jake, off the top of your head, or Ben, do you know how many conference wins we had last year?
I can look it up 1 sec.
No, I'm looking. I'm playing a guessing game. I have it in front of me.
We didn't win the Coastal.
Nope. Ain't no way we won the Coastal with this record.
Ben, do you know what it was?
No.
16-16.
Oh. No, it was only 15 in the regular season because we went 1-1 in pool play.
Okay, so we're if what you say happens, we'll be tracking along the lines of what happened last year.
And the reason I say that 14 is not a guarantee, finishing 14-16 would not guarantee us a postseason berth, is because and now I've gone and looked it up on the side. NC State was very famously the team snubbed in favor of Ole Miss. We all remember what Ole Miss went and did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Champs.
Yeah. So, yeah, that 14-win team did not they did not go dancing. So it's not a guarantee, not in this league. So
part of what this weekend will be is on, I think it's the Saturday or Sunday game is the Mark Teixeira jersey retirement day. We're moving from the honored number to the retired number section in the Georgia Tech baseball lore. So that'll be, if you're going to Rush Chandler this weekend, that is to look forward to. Just a fun side note, I want to mention this. Kendall Rogers on Twitter has been updating the home run totals all season for NCAA baseball, and there's some serious homer inflation going on. In 2019, there was 10,500 home runs throughout the course of the college baseball season. With still a weekend to go and all the tournaments and everything, there's been 16,649 home runs this year, which is at 2.25 homers per game. That 2019 season had 1.46. I don't know if I don't know what's happened. I have no proof that they juiced the balls or what the hell, but it seems a little odd that there's 6,000 more home runs at this point of the season before we even get to the end tournament stuff. So homers are happening. Last year, we have Tech has fewer homers, and they will finish with fewer homers than they did last year, purely because of Kevin Parada and Tim Borden. So that, I think, any other baseball notes before we wrap up?
I think I'm glad that we're getting Virginia at home. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a at this point. We knew it was going to be a rough little stretch at the end there, but having that at home is going to be good. Before we wrap up, I'll have my if you're following Survivor, Carson's still in it. This is incredible. 20-year-olds made it this far. There was an 18-year-old that won the show one year, but that was a long time ago. But he's making it work. He's at his final 6. He's exposed. That good dude's got no immunity idol. He's tomorrow could very well be the end of the line. We'll see. Hopefully it isn't, though, and he makes it to the finale. And then men's lacrosse lost to Concordia in the national championship, so they did not make it to the finale there as either. So their season is over. I don't think any club sports go now because summer semester has started as of yesterday on campus. So no construction updates, no nothing else. So I think we're good. Ben, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You get thanks for being Akshay this week, or just Akshay. I don't know. That poor guy. He was trying to work out in the gym today and at his new job, and it was inhabited by kids. So poor guy. We'll see. We'll find out if he worked out when we record next week. So Jake, take
everyone will be on the edge of their seats.
Oh,
yes. I just know it.
That is the content we're here for.
It happens to the best of us. We just all want to know.
But yes, the drama that happens in our Slack channel is the entire reason that we have that Slack channel. Where would we be without that drama? My drama trying to find out why my water was turned off. Your AT&T drama. Where would we be with?
Yeah, for context, as an aside, while we were recording, I was just play-by-playing what happened with the AT&T. Jack, I will say I have tried to run USI on my own machine, and it's being very slow. So users, we'll tweet out an update here at some point. So stay tuned to the Twitter. In a perfect world, I'd make this a recurring article, but that would require, finagling some time to do that. So keep an eye out. We're going to keep massaging this over the summer. Hopefully it's good and ready for volleyball season. But in the meantime, we do appreciate your continued support and your continued listenership. As always, this has been Scions of the Southland, the podcast from the Rumble Seat. You can find us at fromtherumbleseat.com. We put up a bunch of articles every week from football to Survivor to, whatever the heck else we wind up writing about. Stay tuned. Hopefully, power ranking stuff at some time this fall. That's always been a favorite. If you have feedback for us, you can comment on articles. We put up articles with this show on the site, but you can also email us at fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com. We really do value your support, your feedback. Like we said a couple times already this year, the summer's coming up, and that means we have plenty of times to not just preview and review, but also to talk through history and just deep dives on various parts of tech. We plan on talking about some of the engineering program that we put out in the past and referenced here, as well as master plans and speculating wildly on Google Earth about where you could jam more athletic fields on campus, all that good stuff, everything under the sun. Let us know what you want to hear. You can find us on Twitter at FTRS blog. I'm at Jake Brandt. Jack is at Jack Nicholas. Ben, this is where you can plug yourself if you'd like.
You can find me on Twitter at FTRS Ben.
It's really great synergy there. You can find a lot on FTRS if you just do at FTRS something. You can also find this podcast, find supporter at Section 103. That's on Twitter, and you can find them at section103.com on the interwebs. You can find us also on Facebook and Instagram, the meta platforms at From the Rumble Seat. And you can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed, sold, all that good and fun stuff. Jack, you're gonna be really annoyed when you cut this together because the USI just ran. But
no!
I'll leave everyone on the edge of their seat unless you really want me to. Otherwise, I'll close this out.
Let's close it.
All right. Good night, everyone. Check Twitter. We'll post something there, and tell your friends, rate, review. Good night, good luck, and go Jackets.